Good afternoon. As you can see, there's a really big storm coming in. It's starting to snow. There's a lot of wind. I'm sorry about the audio. I just wanted to show you the storm that's coming in. With all the weather, I thought it would be a really good idea to talk about being prepared driving for winter conditions and your home as well. So I'll start bringing some of that up. I'm going to get inside and then talk about those subjects. Hi, I'm Tracy, and this is Working Man's Revolution. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Okay, I'm in at least where I'm out of the wind, out of the snow, out of the weather. I'm not driving, I'm just parked, but nonetheless, I would like to talk about many of the things that we need to consider when the weather is bad. It's winter here in Wyoming. I guess officially it's not winter for, I don't know, another week or two, whatever. But in Wyoming, it's winter. We're going to get a pretty good storm right now, and I've got about a 5-hour drive. So there are things that I need to consider and that I carry to ensure that no matter what happens, I'm taken care of. I'm secure. Even if I get blown off the road or something crazy happens, I've got these things. And I know that I can survive overnight or whatever without freezing to death or who knows what. So some of the things that are important to do is Wyoming has got really long distances between points of to where you can fuel up. For example, there's one stretch, and I'm going to mention towns that you probably have no idea what they are, but between Shoshone, Wyoming and Casper, Wyoming, it's 100 miles. And there is absolutely no place to stop for fuel between those two places. That being the case, you need to make sure that before you leave Shoshone, you fill up your gas tank. You need to make sure that no matter what, if I get blown off the road or I hit a patch of ice and I'm off the road and it's dark, nobody can see me, I have enough fuel so that my vehicle can continue running. I'll be able to have heat, lights. I'll be able to put my hazards on, different things like that to ensure that I can survive. It's just important to try to keep your tank topped off all the time. You know, you can let it get down to a quarter or whatever, but honestly, if you start letting it get down below a half and you go off the road at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or evening, it doesn't get light until 7:30, 8 o'clock the following morning. So you may be off the road for quite a while. And if you run out of fuel, you're going to be really cold in your vehicle. If you do happen to go off the road and you're in a very remote area, don't try to walk away from your car, but maintain contact with the car, ensuring you know that you haven't, just wandered away. Check your exhaust pipe. Make sure that it's free of debris, snow, whatever it may be. If you don't check, it may be packed with snow, or it may be against a snowbank, and you would think, oh, it had melted off, but it may not. And what will happen is some of that exhaust will get vented back into your vehicle, and you may succumb to carbon monoxide poisoning. It will kill you. You need to just ensure that your exhaust pipe is free of snow, ice, dirt, sage, whatever, making sure that nothing is packed into your exhaust. Another point would be keeping a couple of extra blankets, or if it's just you, like my work vehicle, for example, which is what I'll be driving today, it's just me. So I always keep a good sleeping bag in that vehicle. If something happens, I go off the road, the vehicle won't start, battery ends up dead, something ridiculous, I've got a sleeping bag that I know that I can survive in overnight or whatever it may be. So keep something warm, whether it be blankets, wool blankets, sleeping bag, or whatever. Additionally, if you have passengers regularly, you carpool or you've got children, or it's you and your spouse, whatever it may be, have an additional blanket or an additional sleeping bag so that both of you or your kids or everyone will remain warm. I always keep a change of clothes as well. In my work vehicle, I've got days worth of clothes, but it's irrelevant. But you want to keep a clean, dry pair of jeans, a t-shirt, socks. Doesn't have to be jeans, it can be sweatpants, whatever, but just something that is dry. If you're out in your vehicle and you've got some snow and you're out there trying to dig yourself out, but you're unsuccessful, your pants are going to get wet, your shirt's going to get wet, your socks are going to get wet. Get in the vehicle, have a change of clothes, get out of those wet clothes, get into some dry clothes to help maintain your warmth. You don't want to be wet, especially if your vehicle won't start. You don't want to be wet. You want to be dry and comfortable. Another thing would be to keep a small tote in your vehicle. It doesn't have to be very big, but something that's got easy foods that don't require any heat for preparation or anything like that. I would say things like granola bars, maybe the small individual packs of like trail mix, packs of like almonds or raisins, dried cranberries, different things like that that are easy to store, don't require anything, but they'll help get you through. Water, even though you're in a vehicle, I know that it's difficult, but keep some water. I generally keep a small case, like a 12 pack, of just the small bottles of water. They will freeze here in Wyoming. I get that. But if I'm off the road, as long as the vehicle is running, I can toss them up on the dash, kick the defroster on, and over time, those will thaw. I'll put 3 or 4 of them up in there, and they will thaw. All of this comes from experience. At one point, I was going to the rig, and it was a real mess. We had a lot of snow, big wet snow, and heavy drifting and that kind of thing. I was determined to get to the rig. I was hopeful of getting to the rig so the other person can leave. The rig never stops drilling. So in the process, we work a schedule. And if you don't get to the rig, the other guy that was supposed to go home is stuck there as well. And he may have had plans. Who knows what can happen? It's all irrelevant. I made a bad choice. Nonetheless, on my way to the rig, I got stuck. I was able to get turned around. I tried to get a hold of the rig, tell them, listen, I'm not going to make it today. I got turned around and started heading back towards town. And again, I hit a drift that was probably 3 foot tall. Nothing I could do. There was no moving forward, nothing moving back. I was stuck. I was stuck. And I ended up sleeping that night in my vehicle. Luckily, I was prepared. I had plenty of food. I had plenty of blankets. The vehicle was still running, so I was able to run the heat. It was uncomfortable because the vehicle wasn't level, and it's always uncomfortable sleeping in your vehicle anyway. Nonetheless, all of these things come from experience. I had water, I had food, I had dry clothes, I had a sleeping bag. I was fine. There was nothing to worry about. I wasn't stressed out, anything like that. I knew in the morning blades would be coming out, trying to clear the roads and that kind of thing. And I did get out the next morning and they cleared the road and I was able to get to the rig. All of that aside, we need to be prepared. We need to ensure, if nothing else, that our kids are taken care of. Having sleeping bags, having a little food, having some water, remaining calm. All these things are important to ensure your kids don't panic, to ensure your passengers don't panic. You just have to remain calm. You know you've got everything you need to survive, so it's not a big deal. Yep, you're kind of stuck where you are. You're just going to have to work with what you've got. Some big points in that. If it's a whiteout, if it's a real blizzard, don't try to get out of your car, find the highway, or find a town, or anything like that. Stay in your car. Too many times, people have gotten out of their vehicle thinking, oh, I'm only 5 miles from town. As you get traveling along, especially in a real bad blizzard, the roads are going to be blown over. You're going to lose all track of direction, sight, where you're going, where the town is. Too many people have frozen to death literally a couple of 100 feet from their vehicle, and just because they were sure they could get there. Stay in your car, stay in there until the next morning. Someone will come along and they will find you. Something else is they make very small, like flasher type things that are for if you have a wreck or if you get blown off the road or whatever may happen. You can put these flashers out and it's a small beacon that'll flash orange or whatever color, but carry a small pack of those. Heck, they're no bigger than, I don't know, they're very small, a couple of inches. You put those out, put one on the roof of your vehicle, put a couple next to your vehicle, put them on the hood, wherever. Try to clean them off, make sure they don't have a bunch of snow on them regularly. But as cars come by, if vehicles are continuing to drive, they'll see that flasher and they'll be able to stop and give you assistance. Something else you should try to do is know the highway you're on, and I'm terrible about this. Know the highway you're on and be able to keep track of the mile markers. Many of the routes that I travel, even out of state, I've been driving these routes since I was 16, 17 years old. I can get to Utah, Colorado, California, wherever I need to go, literally without any idea of which highway I'm on. Know the highway you're on, and just once in a while, as you're driving, notice the mile marker that you're on. If you're on mile marker 89, the next time you pass one, you're on, 80. You don't have to keep track of every one, but if you do get off the road and you are stuck, when you call dispatch 911, dispatch will ask where you're at. And you can say, I'm on Highway 20. I'm heading west. The last mile marker I saw was mile marker 80. I've gone up, I've passed that. It was 5 or 10 minutes beyond that. And the search and rescue or the highway patrol or whoever starts looking for you will have a very good general idea where to start looking for you. They know you were at 80. They know you were going west. So they will start there and start looking on both sides of the road as they go, and you'll be much, much easier to find. In Wyoming, there are drop-offs on both sides of the roads much of the time. So if you end up off the side of an embankment or something like that, you're going to be very difficult to find, especially if there's a lot of snow and it's piling on. It'll literally pile over your car and you will be invisible. So if they know Highway 20, the last mile marker you were at was mile marker 80, you went about 5 miles past that or so, they're going to be able to find you much, much faster. It's very important to kind of keep track of that. Something else that's really important, I would say, is like myself, driving to the rig that day, I knew I've driven in this weather for a very long time, and I knew that I should not be driving during that storm. I knew I shouldn't have been driving. I was stubborn, I was hard-headed, and it was a stupid, stupid choice on my part. I know that. If you don't absolutely have to drive, don't drive. Don't do it. There is no sense in going off the road, sleeping in your car, having a wreck, ending up in the hospital. That is one of the most ridiculous things in the world. I don't care if it's little Timmy's birthday and you need to be there, it's your favorite nephew, whatever it may be. They're going to have to understand. Those people are going to have to understand it's not safe to drive and you just can't make it. I should have talked to the rig in advance and told them, listen, I'm going to stay in town. I'm not able to make it. As soon as they get the roads clear, I'll be out there, but I can't do it. The funny thing is the guy on the rig was trying to do the same thing. He ended up stuck about a mile from the rig in the dark. He ended up sleeping in a truck as well. So we both slept in a vehicle. He didn't have water, didn't have food. We both slept in vehicles and it was completely unnecessary. I was still unable to get to the rig. Now the one guy left at the rig had to work 36 hours straight because there was nobody else there with him. Dumb move. If you absolutely have to drive, drive slowly, drive cautiously. If you've got ice on the road, I don't care if you got four-wheel drive. Don't do 70 miles an hour. Slow it down, do 45, 50. If you feel the vehicle wiggle a little bit, slow down even further. I did work for probably 2 years on Interstate 80 between Rollins and Rock Springs. Between Rollins and Rock Springs. Terrible, terrible stretch of the highway. More than once on my way back, 30 miles an hour. That was the most I could do. The wind was howling, blowing drifts across the road, and I literally was just hanging on. And 30 miles an hour. If I started going 35 or 40, I could feel the vehicle wiggle. I knew I'm going too fast. Don't go beyond what your vehicle can do. I don't care if it's got four-wheel drive. My vehicle's got all-wheel drive. It didn't matter. There were people in every ditch, upside down, trucks all over the place. Drive slowly. You're not going to do anything but speed up to get in the ditch if you go 70 miles an hour or more faster, or faster than the road conditions allow. A couple of things as well, just for your home. I use I'll use Texas as an example, and I'll use an example that we had here locally as well. Um, Texas a few years ago, pretty much everybody heard about this. They were pretty sure they were going to lose power during this huge storm that came through, and the people of Texas were not prepared for it. And I understand they typically don't need to have blankets, and it's a warm state. I get it, but they literally their power was knocked out and people were freezing. They didn't have anything. They didn't have extra blankets. They didn't have sleeping bags. They didn't have easy foods, anything like that. So a couple of things that I'll say: doesn't matter what part of the country you live in, have some extra blankets. Have some extra blankets for your kids. Have extra blankets for everyone in the house. Just have them in a tote. Put them up in the attic, wherever you got to put them. Put them in a little stack in the basement, wherever. Um, Same thing, a small tote of food, whether that be trail mix, granola bars, same items. Super simple. They don't require refrigeration at all, so they can just stay there indefinitely. But when you get to a point when you can't heat, anything, you'll have a little something to snack on until the storm is past. If you do end up in a situation where it is an extended period and it's going to remain cold and you're going to be without power for a few days, try to get into a small room, everyone into a small room, and hang up blankets or hang up plastic or whatever. Try to seal up the windows, plastic, blankets, towels, whatever you can. Seal up your windows, seal up all your entry points, and don't go in and out unless it's absolutely necessary. Kind of stay in that room and it'll conserve heat. First, your body will put off heat, so it will warm the room. You wouldn't think that your body heat would warm up the room, but it absolutely will. If you've got a small heater of some sort, whether that be a little propane heater or something along those lines, go ahead and use that and it'll help warm it up. If you're using a propane heater or something that burns a fuel, make sure you ventilate that room so that you can have fresh air. You don't want to, poison yourself with the carbon monoxide. Same thing. Otherwise, body heat, some candles, whatever it may be, and that will help. That will help you maintain some warmth, at least in a small area. The rest of the house, it won't matter. But in that small room, you'll conserve heat and warmth in that room. If you can afford it, get a small generator. If you can get a small generator, then you can run a very small heater, even if it's a real small little generator. You can run a small heater and keep one room really warm. It doesn't have to be much. Seal off, like I said, get a little electric heater and a generator. Generator's got to be outside, obviously. Anyway, you seal off that room, and you can keep that one room toasty and safe. You're all warm. A couple of days may pass. Something that did happen here in Wyoming a few years ago, we had a good storm. Where I live, typically, we don't get a lot of actual snow. We do get cold. We will get snow, but most of it will get blown and continue on elsewhere. But at this point, we got a large amount of snow for us. And when it snows like that, we don't get plowed out for several days sometimes. First thing they're going to start doing is the county's going to start in the bigger towns. They're going to start clearing out the main areas, the main roads in town, and then they're going to start secondary roads and then onto the smaller roads. Once they've got town taken care of, they'll start spreading out into the suburb area and start taking care of larger access roads and then all the way to our community. And it's going to take a couple of days. During this storm, we still had electricity. So we were all fine. The house was warm. Everything was taken care of. We still had internet, which was actually kind of a bad thing because Facebook was blowing up. Nonetheless, one woman came on and was frantic because she's got a baby and she didn't have any formula. It's something that baffles me. I don't understand it. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. If you've got a baby and you need a formula, have more than one day's formula on hand. Even if you get the powdered stuff, put a can of powdered stuff as your emergency backup, store it someplace, and be done with it. This woman was completely upset, had no idea what to do. We lived 35 miles from town and the roads were closed. There was no way to get to town. You've got to think a little further ahead than that. Um, we have formula and we don't even have kids. I mean, just in case, if we've got the grandkids over at that time they were small, we've got some formula. Think about these things. Think through if you've got medications that you need. Don't get down to your last one before you call in the refill. If you've got heart meds and that kind of thing, pay attention to the weather. If you get down, you got 2 or 3 left, call, get them refilled, get it back to the house before you need it. I know that this list is not complete. I know there are many more things that we could all have on hand to ensure that we are taken care of if in a storm or cold weather we lose power, we go off the road, or whatever it may be. But this is a good starting point for being prepared if those situations arise. Um, you see it each year in places like Chicago or back east near the Great Lakes or things like that. They have nor'easters or whatever the storms are, and you'll literally see people dying or freezing to death in their vehicles on the roads. I don't know why that's necessary. I think that we can all avoid that by just thinking ahead just a little bit. Have an extra sleeping bag, make sure your vehicle is topped off, have a little bit of food, have some water you can put on the dash to keep thawed out. These few things will keep you safe and being able to survive and getting through most everything. Um, I hope this has helped someone, even if it's just one person. I hope it's been beneficial. Um, I hope you stay safe, stay warm. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Have a great day.